You ever feel like you're putting way too much pressure on yourself through the things that you love doing, your passions? Like your work has to be successful, otherwise you're failing at it. What's interesting is that some of the great wisdom traditions like Buddhism, Christianity, Stoicism, Taoism have explored this exact struggle, this pressure that we put on ourselves and the need to prove something and how to let go of it. So in this video, we'll break down what Buddha, Jesus, Stoics, and more have to say about pressure, success, and detaching from outcomes. So if you're feeling overwhelmed and stressing yourself out about the things that you enjoy, this might be what you need to hear. So the reason I kind of came up with this is because obviously I struggle with this myself. I put this constant pressure that what I create needs to matter and it needs to be great and has to live up to these over the top expectations I put on myself. And of course, doing that makes it feel heavy and sucks the joy out of it. And instead of creating freely, I just start to overanalyze and it becomes a stressful activity. So that's what kind of prompted to look up and ask ChatGPT, what would the Buddha, what would Jesus, what would the Stoics like Marcus Aurelius and Taoism and these different perspectives of wisdom, what would they say on this thing that I kind of wrestle with in my head? So let's get started with the first one of the Buddha. So it says, a quote from the Buddha, "Do not dwell in the past, do not dream of the future, concentrate the mind on the present moment." Buddha teaches the suffering comes from attachment, especially attachment to success, recognition, or the fear of failure. The more we cling to the idea that we must succeed, the more we create our own suffering. Yeah. It says, think about it when you're truly immersed in your craft, when you're just in the zone, doing your thing, like for me, speaking or writing. Are you worried about success? No, you're just doing it. That's where the joy comes from. Letting go of attachment doesn't mean giving up, it means freeing yourself. Success or failure, those are just illusions of the future. The work itself is the reward. It says Buddhism teaches us that we create within a relaxed mind, free from attachment. We actually do our best work. When you let go, things flow naturally. Yeah, that makes sense. I think often with these expectations that I put, these grandiose ideas I have in my head, they're just thoughts, but the more I think them, I create this idea of what reality should be, this assumption or expectation. And of course, that's not where I'm at in the present moment. So there's a disconnect. And yeah, that creates suffering. So that's spot on. Okay, so now we'll go on to something that Jesus would say on the matter. Consider the lilies of the field. They neither toil nor spin, yet even Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. I'm not sure what that means, but Jesus teaches that our worth isn't based on what we achieve. You don't need to prove yourself. You are already enough. One of the biggest reasons we put pressure on ourselves is the belief that we need to earn our validation, either from our others, from ourselves, or some imagined future version of us. But Jesus constantly taught that your value isn't in what you accomplish, but in who you are. He tells you not to worry about tomorrow, but to trust that today is enough. Yeah, that's a tough one. Feeling like that you are enough. I feel like sometimes I have this underlying mindset that I'm not enough and that I have to do something grand to find myself worthy, I guess. Maybe you all feel the same. But yeah, that's a great one as well. Stoicism. All right, that's like the philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca. Marcus Aurelius says, do not waste what remains of your life worrying about things outside of your control. The Stoics teach that only things you can control are your effort and your mindset. That's it. You don't control whether people like your work. You don't control whether you get millions of views or just 10. I can relate to that. You do control whether you show up and you create. You control your discipline, your focus, and your consistency. If success comes, great. If not, you're still doing what you love. That's the real win. That's true. So why stress over things outside of your control? Why tie your happiness to something you cannot dictate? Create because it's in your nature to create, not because of some imagined outcome. Yeah, I think that the Stoic point right there is that we put too much emphasis on things way outside of our control. and you kind of get lost in these expectations rather than why you're doing it to begin with. Focusing on the things you can control is hard for a lot of us, but it saves us from our own sanity, really. So that's a great one too. We'll do one more. Taoism. Taoism is one of my favorite spiritual traditions. It's an ancient Chinese tradition believed to be created by a guy named Lao Tzu, which they're not even sure if he actually existed, but let's see what they have to say. This is from the Tao Te Ching, the holiest book or the most spiritual book in Taoism. Do your work, then step back. The only path to serenity, from the Tao Te Ching. Taoism teaches that forcing things only creates resistance. If you're trying too hard to be successful, to make something great, you actually block your own flow. Think about water. It does not force its way down a mountain. It moves around obstacles effortlessly. It simply flows. What if you treated your work like that? Just let it flow. Stop overthinking. Stop pushing so hard. Do your work, then step back. Let it be what it is. The Tao reminds us the more we grasp, the less we hold. Ugh, if I had a nickel every time I try to tell myself that, yeah. I'm kind of a try-hard. I don't. Guys might be too. Where it's just you put in so much effort into things, and you just want it to be so good that doing that, putting that extra oomph, is what takes you further from what you actually want. That kind of reminds me of the backwards law, which is basically that idea of the kind of more you let go and not try, then you get what you want. Yeah, I mean, you can think about that in sports and performance where guys, if they worry about making a shot or that free throw and they overthink it, they're not going to perform as well. They're wasting valuable brain resources on thinking about the outcome rather than the performance itself that then produces the outcome. So that's also a great point of just focusing on the work. Should we do one more? Yeah, let's do one more. This is from Zen. Oh, this is one of my favorite quotes too. Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. And what that basically means is that there's no big moment of when you finally make it. That enlightenment quote, that basically means your life is going to be this. You're going to have to do the same stuff after enlightenment, in the same way that if you become very successful or famous in whatever avenue or passion you have, you're still going to be in the same body. You're still going to have to eat every day. You're still going to have worries. You're going to have troubles, and life goes on. So the work remains the same, whether you have 10 subscribers or 10 million. You do the thing because you want to do it. Instead of fixating on a future, you just be in the process because it's what you feel compelled to do. All right, I think that's probably good, and just kind of summarize what this is. It's what this means is, and the take-home message is to stop gripping so tightly to an outcome, to external things outside of our control. When you look at the biggest people that were successful in history, they were never worried about success or a certain thing to get to. They were just doing their thing, giving their fullest attention to it, and the success happened or was a byproduct of their efforts rather than the focus of their efforts. So we have to take the pressure off of ourselves. Let's just flow instead of force. Enjoy the process rather than overthinking it. And that requires vigilance and awareness, because the brain likes to fantasize. It likes to create these ideas and analysis paralysis and overthinking. And so it really just starts in your brain. It starts with the thoughts you think. So whenever you get overwhelmed, remember why you're doing it to begin with, because you love the work, you're passionate about that, and that's the only thing you can care. That's the only thing you can control. And that's the only real path to peace and joy in whatever passion you have. So I hope this video helped. Use it as a tool to remind you of why you are doing the things you are doing. That's what I'm going to do. That's why I created this video, was not only to help you guys, but to remind myself of why I do this to begin with. If you have any thoughts on this, let me know in the comments. And thank you all for watching. More than anything, Just create, do your thing, and that is enough. Thank you all.